Welcome to Iceland. My name is Gylfi, and I will be your brutally honest guide while we explore the tiny village Svalbardseyri, which is situated by the coast of the beautiful fjord Eyjafjörður, only 10 minutes away from Akureyri, the capital of the north. And although we have a simple town with a simple story this time, it's nothing simple about the name of the municipality that covers this coastline, or Svalbardsstrandarhreppur. But don't worry, it looks better than it sounds. And it is actually a fast-growing community, so welcome to Svalbardseyri in Svalbardsstrandarhreppur. I'm starting the story in 1894 when the village became a certified trading post, and only a year later the local co-op started its operation, and it would be the backbone of the village for almost 100 years. And the old co-ops, they were not just trading companies and suppliers. They operated processing plants for the farmers that were completely dependent on their success, like the communities where they operated. And the local co-op was actually quite successful during most of its lifetime. Then something happened, and to make a long story short, it turned into a bankruptcy of enormous scale that left the village without even a convenience store. But the infrastructure and the workmanship didn't go nowhere, so meat processing started again quite fast, and later large companies would merge on this market, and that left the town with one of the largest meat processing plants in the country. So they have plenty of jobs, but not as many houses for the staff. So many of them live in Akureyri, and that brings us to the new neighborhood. They are expanding the village, and many of the new building plots are excellent as for this seaside view. And I'm told that this expansion is not about the people who work here. In the background we have Akureyri with 20,000 residents, and building land there is more expensive. So we have actually seen a similar development in other villages near Akureyri, where people want larger building plots for less, for more privacy. And since this is a municipality, they have a small and personal administrative unit that can be a huge benefit, although it can of course be the other way around. And as I look into the future of this municipality, they have unique land quality. And I have little by little been seeing this new continuous low-density urban area form that stretches actually almost all the way to Akureyri. And this started with a few farmers selling just a few plots, and it would not be a surprise if this would be one of the most sought-after locations in the region in not so many years. So the municipality Svalbardsstrandarhreppur has been doing a good job, in my opinion, by allowing this to develop this way. And there are actually more buildings here and more residents than we see. And I'm talking about the tax-free housing and the tax-free residents. And that has to do with elves and other hidden creatures. And over half the nation believes in their existence. So what we have here in the cliffs is the largest urban area with hidden beings here in Iceland. But I have never managed to tune into this elf frequency, so I have never seen them, and I'm not even sure if I need to. My neighbor has seen them, or this big fleet of small boats that sailed into those cliffs. And this neighbor of mine, he lit up like a Christmas tree when he was telling me the story, and he was not drunk. And stories of this kind are actually so common here in Iceland that I have a video in the making about that subject. So I'm not going to make this chapter longer today, other than to say that this is the largest such urban area in Iceland, where hidden creatures live in stones. And close to those cliffs where they live, we have a new tourist attraction, or this waterfall that wasn't there just a few years ago. And this is geothermal water from nearby road tunnels, or this surprise that the construction crew found on the way through the mountain. And some of the water is used for nearby nature baths. So the waterfall is the overspill. And personally, I would like to see this waterfall do something more, because this is very special. And we even see tourists use the creek as nature baths for free. But it's not always a good idea, because the temperature differs a lot. So I would like to see this overspill made into something more, since there are not so many tourist attractions around. But thanks to a private initiative, just by the entrance to the village, we find a little museum there. It is called the Icelandic Folk and Outsider Art Museum, and it is what the name claims it to be, or to collect and protect the work of outsiders who often didn't receive any recognition until they kicked the bucket. And as for this small market of ours, the founders of the museum have succeeded in what seemed impossible, or to collect folk art for 30 years now and make it work out as a business concept. So they are very active when it comes to exhibitions. And if it wasn't for the museum, the village would be as lame as they get as a tourist destination, because despite all this meat going through the village, you can't even buy a hot dog there. But when we look carefully around us, the surprise attraction might be this little but well-maintained lighthouse, and although just sitting there outside it could get dull after a while, I found it to be a good place to practice with the drone, and since the lighthouse has left me with usable footage from time to time, more footage than I use in my own projects, I have uploaded some of it to Pixabay and Pexels. That is where I offer other content creators free footage, and my lighthouse videos alone have been downloaded over 13,000 times. So if the lighthouse will someday become famous, the municipality can thank me for that. But there are other places to film, of course, and this is the very nice farmhouse Svalbard. In my mind, this is the genuine look of the Icelandic typical farm, although it's a bit bigger than they usually are, but it's very neat. And the town's name, Svalbardseyri, originates from this farm, Svalbard. The last 4 letters of the name, Eyri, it means a sandbank. And that is appropriate since there are 2 sandbanks there that left them with 2 ponds, where we have often very lively bird life. So this is a nice place to go walking. And they have been taking care of the town's surrounding. Like here I found them fixing the eroded part of the coast, and it was no problem for me to make this video because I had plenty of footage from all seasons to choose from. And I always tend to find something around here. And then it's the midnight sun that we can actually enjoy from numerous other locations. But this is just a sample. And up on the hill we find the local church, which is unusually big for a town of this size. It was built from ambition and funds from locals, and it replaced a church from 1846. And that ancient church was then moved to Akureyri, where it serves as a museum church. And after a sightseeing or a museum tour, there is a swimming pool there, but no campsite, at least not yet. But it's not a big issue, since there are plenty of campsites around, and I have to mention that there are several farmhouse accommodation options to be found nearby, and many of them are very nice, like the landscape. So Svalbardseyri and the municipality, it's more than meets the eye in the village itself. It is a growing coastal settlement that I hope that won't be too densely populated, and we don't have to make all neighborhoods into something like this, because we have plenty of building land. But I'm not going to make this tour any longer. I'm working on the next journey, not only with the new villages, since this was actually a remake or version 2 from this village. And that is because I have a better footage than I had when I started this, and I have a better microphone and a bit more experience, and I have of course formed this concept a bit more. So thanks for joining me, and if you want to stay tuned, you can click on the subscribe button and the notification bell, because it's plenty to come. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from my home country, Iceland.